How's everyone feeling today? Right? That wasn't that convincing. How's everyone feeling today? So my name is Cinthia Osorio. I am from Wind of the Spirit, and I crossed the U.S.-Mexico border back in 1998 when I was a toddler. I was 3 years old. But the reason why my family and I migrated was because we were fleeing from domestic violence and because of the extreme poverty that my family and I faced back in Mexico. And in exchange for our safety, in exchange for a better life, I did have to go through family separation as well. Many of us, including my family, are left in the shadows. And even now, as I am a DACA recipient, I sometimes often look at my family, I look at my younger siblings who are U.S. citizen, native-born Americans, and I say, how long do I have before I have to say goodbye? How long do I have before my family and I are separated? Because even if it's at the U.S.-Mexico border, U.S.-Canada border, or if it's here right in New Jersey, I still have a risk of being separated from my family because there still is no pathway to citizenship for myself, for the other 800,000 DACA recipients, and there's still 11.4 million still undocumented immigrants, where my mom is still included in that group. But I speak out despite this fear. I speak out because I hope that one of you today can hear my testimony, can hear my calling and say, please stand up for us, please stand up for myself, please stand up for the families, the children who are going through this. When I was young, when I was 3 years old, when I was born, my biological mom actually left me in the care of my grandmother while she traveled to the United States just so we can have our foot in the door and begin our life here in the United States. But 3 years went by and I never formed that bond with my biological mom. And ever since that, my grandma I saw as my mom. I formed that relationship with my mom. But she was a single mom who just survived domestic violence from a very abusive relationship. And she was already raising 5 kids, and now she had to take care of me. That makes 6 kids, and being a single mom, just trying to raise 1 kid is difficult, but now trying to imagine raising 6 kids. It was extremely impossible. There was several days where my family and I would go starving because there was no food left for us to eat. So that's when my grandmother made the difficult decision to travel. The way that we actually traveled to the United States is that myself and my younger aunt traveled through car with a woman that said that she'd be our mom. She had 2 birth certificates of her biological daughters, but back in the day, you didn't have to show your picture of the official person. You could just show the birth certificate and cross through the border. So that's how I came to the United States. I essentially pretended to be someone else that I'm not. And the way that my grandma was able to console me as I was crying and screaming and saying, please don't let me go, please don't take me away from my mom, was for her to give me sleeping medicine. When the last thing I remember telling my grandma is, please don't let me go, and I was crying and holding on to her, and she explained to me that was the hardest thing ever, saying goodbye to me, because she didn't know if she was going to make it or not. Her and the rest of my older siblings crossed the U.S.-Mexico border by foot, and they experienced the worst of the worst experience I've ever heard, and the story still brings me shivers. So when we arrived, me and my other aunt arrived to the United States, I woke up and when I woke up, I was searching for my mom. I was saying, where is she, where is she? And I wasn't reunited with her until after a day. But in those hours, the 24 hours, I didn't know where she was. I was crying and begging for her to be back with her. And so finally I was reunited with her and the rest of my family. But that's not always the case. And now children are being separated from their families, and they're giving psychotropic drugs, which is probably the most dangerous drugs that could be given to anybody, to these young children just so they can calm down. These children are crying and wailing like I did, but instead of having the consent of their parents, they're being forced to give these psychotropic drugs, and that's why we have to end this criminal activity. We have to stand up, and coming to events like this today is the first step. But now it's time for all of us to continue making sure that our friends, our family, our neighbors know what's going on. We have to keep on having these difficult conversations. We have to keep on we have to keep showing up to the events like today and tomorrow, whether it's in Newark, whether it's in Washington, D.C., or whatever state you want to go to. We have to keep advocating, because one day, maybe I will get deported. One day, maybe the immigration policies will be so oppressive that I'll be scared to speak up. And I hope one of you will think of me and say, I'm standing up for Cinthia. I'm standing up for her family. I'm standing up for more people who are in her shoes. So thank you so much for coming today, and I appreciate all of you working with my testimony. Thank you.